Now, James Harden and Giannis Antetokounmpo may feel a certain way about each other. They may like each other. They may not like each other. I don't know. I don't know either of them personally. But I will say they both have made comments on each other's game and play style. But I will say their comments on each other are both fair. And they both have one thing in common is that they play in organizations that both enable them to not improve their games to the best of their ability. The Milwaukee Bucks have enabled Giannis Antetokounmpo for years and years to not get better and to not work on his game and his craft and kind of build the team around his strengths, which allows him to be as dominant as he is in the regular season. Then coming to the playoff time, he folds under pressure. And then the Houston Rockets have enabled James Harden to play a certain way and to get a whole bunch of points and to be able to be a dominant scorer, which he is, one of the greatest scorers of all time, but not play the right way and play the proper game of basketball. Now, I'm not going to be one of these people that just comes out here and talks about analytics or what it's doing and it's not doing, because it's been its pros and cons working for both systems. If you look at the Milwaukee Bucks system, allowing them to get the number one seed, allowing them to get home court advantage in the playoffs, even though we're in the bubble right now, allowing Giannis to become the back-to-back MVP and Defensive Player of the Year, something that hasn't been done since Michael Jordan. And then you look at James Harden, he's won the MVP. James Harden was a bucket before they kind of put in the analytics system, but he has benefit for the analytics system. The Houston Rockets have gone out and won 60 games. They've gone out and James Harden's won the MVP. And James Harden and the Houston Rockets, with that analytics system that people need to understand, they were the closest team in the KD era with Golden State Warriors to give them the toughest challenge, the toughest situation. So you can't just sit up and talk about that it's all negatives to the analytics system, but it is too much. The play style that they play is starting. And I'm a James Harden supporter. I'm a Houston Rockets supporter. I love Russell Westbrook. So I support the Houston Rockets more than anybody's, and you guys know this. So me saying this is not coming from hate or anything, but it's just coming from kind of annoyed with the system and kind of how they almost lost to OKC. Like, they almost lost in the first round to a team that they should have won in no less than 6 games. They lost. They won in Game 7 on a miracle defensive play by James Harden. And when it comes to their play style, it's very simple. You get a layup or you shoot threes. James Harden doesn't even look to operate on the second zones of the basketball court, and he's capable of doing that. He's capable of scoring anywhere he wants and capable of operating and shooting mid-range shots and getting easier shots. But too many times he takes contested and difficult shots all the time. Yes, he's a difficult shot maker, but sometimes that, I've called James Harden the greatest one-on-one player of all time, but sometimes you don't have to create a difficult shot. And sometimes James Harden goes to the second zone on the basketball court and he pulls the ball out and then he tries to take a step back three. It's starting to get annoying. It's starting to get a little frustrating to watch. And I'm hoping that, even though I like the Houston Rockets, I'm kind of hoping that they kind of do a change, because that brand of basketball is not going to be successful. And who knows, it could be an isolation team that goes out and eventually wins a championship. And then we'll talk about the Houston Rockets, how they were the pioneers of that movement. But at this point, it's kind of getting very difficult to see the Houston Rockets time and time again, basically struggle in the playoffs. And it's kind of predictable because they're struggling because they take difficult shots and they do the same thing. And it's no James Harden running off of screens or playing the off-ball position, allowing Russell Westbrook to kind of facilitate the offense, run the offense, and dictate pace. And, having James Harden come off curl screens or double screens, again, James Harden open looks, or James Harden doing back cuts to get easy layups. They need a new system. They needed probably a new coach, and they need to, instead of just doing analytics all the time and just using the formula of this works, it says shooting threes and layups are the best, the easiest way to gain points and the easy way to try to win games. They need to kind of incorporate a mixture of both analytics and traditional offense. And for Giannis and the Bucks in their situation, Coach Bud has allowed Giannis to basically just be this ball-dominant player, and he doesn't work on his game. He has one move, and that's just to go turbo, head down like a halfback doing a halfback drive, just going straight through the middle. If he can't get to the lane, he's passing and he's kicking it out there, hitting threes. It's that offense doesn't work either, especially in the playoffs in the half-court system. So once again, Giannis and James Harden, the one thing they have in common is they play for an organization that have kind of enabled them to basically do whatever they want to do without kind of working on some of the weaknesses in their game. When you look at James Harden on the offensive side, he can do everything. So it doesn't really make sense for him not to take mid-range shots or take what the defense is giving him, coming off screens and getting easier looks. But the analytic offense in Houston is basically like, no, James Harden wants you to take threes and layups only. That's not going to work, and that's why they're probably going to lose in 5 games against the Los Angeles Lakers. And for the Milwaukee Bucks, have allowed Giannis to dominate the ball, drive constantly, no necessary ball movement, no telling Giannis, you know what, we need to work on your post moves, your post games. You need to work on your pull up mid range. You need to get better and more skilled on the offensive side of the ball, because in the half court system, especially in the playoffs, you're not going to be able to just attack, because teams actually play defense. Instead, they have allowed him to basically go out and just do the same thing year after year, year after year. And which is why I feel like both of these organizations are regular season organizations, and they need to make some changes. And if they want to be successful, and if they want to stop wasting some of their great talent in Giannis Antetokounmpo and James Harden, it's also up to Giannis and James Harden to say enough is enough as well. Because you just keep allowing them to do the same things over and over again. And it's working to a degree of where, they're getting first round, they're getting first seeds, and they're getting MVPs and getting awards and all that stuff. But if you do the eye test and you watch the game, you know that those awards and stuff don't mean nothing, especially if you keep struggling in the playoffs. But I'm just saying, there comes a point in time where you got to want to win the games that matter, and you kind of got to want to change the noise or change the narrative around your name when it comes to not being so predictable. But it starts with these organizations as well that enable Giannis and enable James Harden to kind of go out and do the same things over and over again.